Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Jason Factor. In today's video, I play with some vinyl. I tug on a long, hard spoiler, and I strip and polish my rear taillights. Alright guys, so what we're going to do now is try to repair that tear that I showed you guys in the earlier episode that was in the headliner. I went ahead and I purchased this Permatex vinyl and leather repair kit. It comes with a whole bunch of things in the kit, including some adhesive and filler, which we're not going to need for this repair. It comes with a piece of fabric that you would put for larger tears inside for some structural integrity, I guess. We won't need that as well. It comes with this color chart and a whole bunch of different colors. We're only going to need white and black since my interior is charcoal, so we'll see how close we can get it to the color of the headliner. It also comes with these pretty cool textured pieces of paper which you apply afterwards and rub on the back of it in order to match the texture of whatever it is that you're fixing. And this one here actually is really close to the texture of the headliner, so we're going to go ahead and use this one. So let's see how good we can get this repair. So here's a close-up of that tear we're trying to repair. I'm going to clean it up with some rubbing alcohol and then apply that vinyl repair that I just mixed, and we'll see how good it turns out. Okay, so apparently you can't reuse those textured pieces because if you do, they stick to the first layer that you put on there. While we're waiting for that vinyl repair to dry and see what we're dealing with, we might as well rip off this spoiler because we know that that's something that we're going to have to replace. So it is held in by a bunch of tabs and double-sided tape. So there's no bolts per se to take off other than two right back here. And we'll remove the third brake light and then we'll rip that off. It's not going to be pretty, but it's not like we're trying to save it anyways. This is fun. Well, this is not coming off easily. Okay, so I've been at this for about an hour, and I think I changed my mind. The spoiler's not that bad, so we're just gonna leave it. It's fine. Why? Oh. Yes! Yes! Mic drop. Alright. That literally took about an hour. I didn't film it because there's no reason for you guys to just hear me grunting and groaning. It's just gross. Nobody wants to see that. Next up, we're going to remove the taillights and see if we can do anything about the tint. So if you guys remember in an earlier episode where we did the walk around, I mentioned that not only were these tinted, but they were also clear coated, which is really unfortunate because if it was just a matter of being tinted with a popular product out there known as Nightshade, then something as simple as brake cleaner would have actually removed the tint from the taillights. But because they are clear coated, we're going to have a challenge ahead of us. I've already tried using some stronger removers such as this Goof Off and acetone, but neither of those had any effect on removing the clear coat and the tint. I was thinking of using some paint stripper, but then I was really worried about damaging the actual plastic of the taillights. So what I think we're going to have to do is resort to some good old-fashioned wet sanding and remove the clear coat and the tint that way. We're not going to stop there. Once the tint is removed, we're going to take apart the taillights and then update the look to the newer JDM spec 300ZX taillights, which basically means removing the amber plastic from the bottom portion and replacing it with a clear plastic piece.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
All right, guys, so we're on the second day of sanding the taillights, and I've learned two very important things. Number one, wet sanding taillights is very, very messy. It creates this white film that gets everywhere. It was all over my jacket, all over my pants. I had to wash everything as soon as I got into the house last night. The second thing I learned was 800 grit is just not going to cut it if I want to get it polished to a mirror finish. After I finished the 800 grit sanding, it was very noticeable in terms of the scratches that were on the lenses, and I don't think the polish would be able to get everything out. So I hit it with 1000 grit and then a 1500 grit, which I think would be enough. However, just to be on the safe side, I'm also going to hit it with a 2000 grit and polish it after that. But before I do that, I've decided to take them apart and do the modifications to them before, so that way if I nick it or scratch it while I'm taking them apart, it's not going to be a big deal. Obviously, I'm not going to make you guys watch 20 minutes of me doing this, so we'll speed it up through the magic of video, and we'll take a couple of pauses to see the progression. There we go. So the next thing we do is just basically take apart the inside. So that center trim piece just unclips out. You got to be careful not to break any of the clips. And then you're left with the amber and the red. We're only going to remove and replace the amber. All right, so after taking a closer look, it's obvious that the amber lens is held on with more of that black tar from hell. So all I'm going to do is basically heat up each point that it's held by, and the lens should pop right out, I hope. Just like that, it comes out. So what we're going to do is replace this amber lens with a clear plastic. Now, I can't take credit for this. I found this on YouTube. If you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, you can find this ceiling tile fluorescent light cover, $15 a sheet. I already cut off a small piece. I'm going to work with the smooth side up. And all we're going to do is take the amber piece, use it as a template, and trace out the size that we need. and then we will do it a little bit bigger than we need, test fit it, and then sand off as much as we can. Now this stuff is really difficult to cut. It's very brittle and wants to break, so you can't use side cutters or anything like that to cut it. I did see one hack where somebody heated up a blade and kind of melted through it, but what we're going to do is just use a Dremel, and that should cut right through it, no problem. Okay, so we traced it out and used the Dremel to cut it out. Only took a couple of minutes. Now what we're going to do is head over to the grinder and smoothen everything out, get it small enough, and we will take off bit by bit until it fits in here properly. All right, so after going back and forth, a little bit of trial and error in terms of getting the shape just right, it fits in perfectly. I applied some heat to those points that had the silicone. That's what's holding in the clear plastic lens now, and I put the finishing trim on top. The next thing we have to do is mimic the pin striping that's found on the JDM spec taillights. So I picked up some 1/8 inch pinstriping from my local automotive store, and that's going to go on the inside of the outer lens cover. All right, guys, the pinstriping process is actually really easy. The only thing that you're going to have to do is take your time and make sure everything goes on evenly and straight. I have some 3/4 inch masking tape. I'm going to apply it to the outside, right down the middle of each section, and then I'm going to cover that masking tape on the inside, and that inside piece is what I'm going to use as the guide for the pinstriping. We want to make sure everything's nice and clean on the inside so that when we apply the pinstriping, everything sticks as good as it can. Got it. All right, guys, so just like that, we got all the pieces on. We can now remove the masking tape that we had there for guides. So there we have it. All the pinstriping is in. Now for a good cleanup. So for about $25 worth of product and about 4 hours of labor, I'd say they look pretty damn good. A lot of it we're not going to need to use for this repair, but it has an adhesive, English no so good, adhesive and fill tube. We're not going to need that on this. There's nothing to adhese or fill. It also comes with these pieces of textured paper, which is really cool. You got to match it to what closestly the closest fist. It also comes with a piece of shit.
Not a mechanic.